can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny. This is a preview for the big fight taking place in Barnsley this weekend. Callum Simpson returns to Oakwell to take on the Italian Ivan Zucco in a fight, after his fight against Zach Shelley last year, coming back bigger and better in Barnsley. I'm sure they've sold more tickets. Danny, good to be joined by you as always. Give us your thoughts on this fight because Callum Simpson's a strong favourite, but Zuko, um, undefeated, 21-0, big puncher, has been around a while. Do you think there's much of a danger of Callum Simpson losing this fight? Could there be tears at Oakwell this Saturday night?
Suppose you never know. I mean, Zucco appears to be no mug. He shares a opponent with a few British super middleweights and Jermaine Brown, who beaten relatively one-sided fashion, as you say. He's got a very impressive knockout percentage. Obviously, never lost, never been stopped himself. You can understand why Callum Simpson's a big favourite. You know, he's never really came close to losing a fight that's in his backyard. He's very much the home fighter, so he'll be afforded all those advantages, and we'll come on to predictions as well. So it would be an upset of sorts, of course, if Zuko was to pull it off. But you know, we see a lot of these unknown European fighters come over and they're just sort of cannon fodder. I don't expect Zuko to be that at all. I think he'll come to win. I think he'll give a good account of himself. So no, it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if he was to pull it off. Not for me.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as you mentioned, he's a puncher, and look, maybe there aren't massive names on his record, but there aren't really massive names on Callum Simpson's record either. So maybe, yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. I really am. I think it's more a case of how can Zuko go to a football stadium full of kind of screaming Barnsley fans and silence them, basically, because I think a lot of people kind of melt under that sort of pressure. Back to Callum Simpson, Danny. What level do you think he can get to in your opinion? He won the British and Commonwealth titles last time out. Not last time out, last year against Zach Shelley. Good win for him there. Defended them against Steve Woodall, and now he's fighting for the European title. But where can he get to, in your opinion? Can he kind of get to that world level, and really kind of sell out Oakwell? Where can he get to?
I think he will fight for a world title because he's probably the biggest ticket seller they've got, boxer, you know, between him and Chris Bull and Smith, you would say, and they're clearly guiding him very carefully. And obviously in, you know, the not too distant future, we're expecting the four world titles at super middleweight to become vacant. So it's going to be a real scramble then, and you'd imagine the plan is over the next 12 months is to maneuver him to position where he can fight for a vacant world title, maybe not against the strongest opponent. So because of how big an asset he is to his promotion, I think he will fight for a world title. Whether he wins it, you know, depends on a lot of factors that we can't really answer now. Maybe other fighters who don't sell as big a ticket as he do and aren't as big a commercial draw as him wouldn't be manoeuvred as carefully. But I do think he'll fight for a world title.
Yeah, I think what you've when you've said about someone kind of not being maneuvered as carefully, it's reminded me a little bit of Mark Jeffers, if I'm honest with you. It's a name that we're going to get onto, and we will get on to now. But I think before we go any further, look, Callum Simpson is nicely placed in the top 15 with all four governing bodies. So yeah, I think if he continues to win, he's going to move up those rankings. And yeah, I think. I would say probably not next year, but 2027. I could see him fighting for a world title against who? No idea. We shall see what happens. Danny, we've got some pretty good super middleweights in Britain. Um, Callum Simpson, of course, Mark Jeffers, who I think is a fantastic fighter, and kind of you hope he gets rewarded with a big fight in the next few months, but we'll see. I know he's fighting on the undercard on Saturday night. And Hamza Sheeraz, of course, who's fighting Edgar Berlanga next month, who was a force at middleweight and has moved up. Out of those three, if there was like a round robin tournament, well, they were all to fight each other, who would come out on top in your opinion?
It's hard to know. Obviously, you want to see how Hamza looks against Edgar Berlanga because if he beats Berlanga, he goes straight to number one. I mean, having potentially number one based on what he's done at middleweight, although I think that would maybe be unfair. In terms of the other two, it's really tough because Callum Simpson's probably got the deeper resume. Obviously, they both defeated Zach Celia, but it's maybe because Mark Jeffers hasn't, been given the same opportunities, and who's to say he wouldn't go on to have done the same things, if not more, had he got the fights that Callum Simpson's got. That's the fight I want to see between those two, although they're with the same manager, so how likely that is to happen remains to be seen. Tough to pick. Mark Jeffers, sort of one of the best fighters in this country, maybe doesn't get the credit he deserves. Don't know. I'm gonna sit on the fence. I think obviously in relation to Hamza Shiraz, as I say, how he looks against Edgar Berlanga will tell us a lot about that. But the fights that aren't going to happen anyway, are there? If Berlanga or if Shiraz beats Berlanga, he's not going to be looking at Callum Simpson and Mark Jeffers. I don't think.
No, no, look, we'll see. It's nice to have guys kind of competing at the higher end, or at least with kind of the potential to compete in the higher end of the division in the next year or so. I also think that those three guys are there to stay in that division personally, but we'll see. All right, Danny, I think busy weekend of boxing, isn't it? And I think you're going to have. We'll see if this interferes with the main event in Ipswich. So hopefully fans are able to watch both, but. Before I let you go, what do you think's going to happen? As we mentioned, Callum Simpson, the strong favourite here, but I won't say any more. What's your prediction for this one?
I do think Callum Simpson will win. Maybe I'm leaning that way because, like most people watching this, I've seen a lot more of Callum Simpson than I have of Ivan Zucco. Mentioned the home advantage earlier, although as I said, I don't think Zucco will roll over. I think he will go the distance, but I'm expecting Callum Simpson to win on points, maybe like a 97, 93, 98, 92, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I think I agree with you. Obviously, look, it'd be great. I'm sure he would love to get the stoppage in front of his home crowd. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I just before I do actually let you go, Danny, I want to ask assuming you are correct and Callum Simpson does win. Do you think the plan is going to be just to defend the European title, maybe fight in some sort of eliminator in the next 12 months? Because it's an exciting time in his career. He's just spoken about fighter, but any idea what you think the route's going to be over the next 12 months for Callum Simpson?
I wouldn't be surprised if they started targeting sort of faded world level names. Maybe someone like a Sergey Derenchenko, obviously lost to Christian Billy last time out. They'll give a decent account of himself, and that would be still be a pretty big step up for Simpson. But a name like that, who's maybe been up towards the top end of the division, maybe fought for a world title, but is on the back nine, and they'll fancy that Callum's getting at the right time. I think that's maybe the direction they'd want to go in.
Yeah, I think you have I think you've hit the nail on the head then. Someone who's maybe not the fighter they were, but still a big name. I think that's definitely possible. And we will probably see Callum Simpson, yeah, return to Oakwell this time next year for another fight, possibly. Danny, good to be joined by you as always. Appreciate your time, appreciate your thoughts and your prediction as well. We'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Cheers, mate.